The first night I slept at the Starlight Motel, I didn't cry. That's what still surprises me. Not when Derek told me to come back when you fixed what your father messed up. Not when Caroline sent that perfectly worded text about keeping things fair. Not even when I dragged 2 suitcases across a gravel parking lot at 10:38 p.m., the neons in Starlight blinking like it had a nervous condition. I didn't cry. I just stood there with the office key in my hand, staring at a building everyone else had already decided was worthless. If you're watching this from your kitchen, or your car, or your bed after everyone else is asleep, you know that feeling. The moment when everyone thinks they've already calculated your value, and you're still standing there, doing the math yourself. My name is Julia Anderson. I'm 43, and last winter my parents died on a patch of black ice 3 miles south of the old feed mill. One phone call, one deputy with a soft voice. That was it. Caroline. Got the Rowanoke Apartments 3 units, fully leased polished hardwood floors, granite countertops, predictable income, clean, obvious value. The kind you can brag about at a dinner party. I got the Starlight Motel, 12 rooms, cracked asphalt, a sign that hummed louder than the ice machine. Derek didn't even pretend. He spread the paperwork across our kitchen table like it was a diagnosis. You need to trade with Caroline, he said. Calm, surgical. This is business. Business. I remember looking down at the grain of the oak table and thinking, that's the same table we bought the year Noah was born. That table has seen birthday cakes and science projects and Lily's spilled glitter glue. And here he is, negotiating my inheritance like it's a bad stock. You're not thinking strategically, he added. Which, if you've been married long enough, you know is just a refined way of saying, you're not thinking the way I want you to. The night he told me not to come home until I'd handled it, I packed slow. Not dramatic, not frantic, slow. Like folding laundry for someone who might never wear it again. Noah's navy hoodie, Lily's pink rabbit, my mother's casserole dish. I don't know why that felt essential, but it did. Grief makes you grab strange anchors. And then I drove out to Route 11. The motel office smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and old cedar. Not abandoned, not exactly alive either, just waiting. I locked the door behind me and sat in the cracked vinyl chair behind the front desk. And here's the part that still gives me chills. There was a ledger open on the desk. Not dusty, not forgotten. Open. My father's handwriting filled the page in neat square letters. Dates, notes, little arrows pointing to room numbers. I ran my finger along the margin and felt the indentation of his pencil strokes. He had been here recently, and nobody had told me. I didn't understand it then. I just knew something wasn't adding up. Caroline came by 2 days later in a cashmere coat and sympathy perfume. She walked through the lobby like she was inspecting a rental property. Oh, Jules, she sighed, brushing her fingers over the counter. This place is worse than I thought. She said she could take it off my hands, said she'd absorb the burden. She named a number that sounded big until you actually thought about it. And I almost laughed, because I've watched Caroline negotiate since we were 12. She's never offered anything she didn't expect to triple. I'll think about it, I said. And for the first time in our lives, I meant something she couldn't predict. That night, I couldn't sleep. The pipes knocked. The wind pushed against the windows. Around 1:30 a.m., I got up and walked into the office. There's a pine cabinet behind the desk. Always has been. I remember hiding in it during hide and seek when I was 8. The wood looked different, polished. I opened it. Inside were binders, maps, county zoning notices, copies of state transportation proposals, dating back nearly 20 years. My dad had been tracking something, every revision of a proposed highway expansion, every shift in the alignment, notes circled in red pencil. And right there, highlighted twice, proposed interchange exit 14A Route 11 corridor. Directly over the Starlight parcel, my hands actually started shaking. I didn't fully grasp it yet, but I knew enough to call Walter Hensley the next morning, Dad's old hunting buddy, retired from the state planning office. Walter showed up with black coffee and a silence that meant business. He spread the map across the counter and tapped the page. Your daddy's been watching this corridor since 2003, he said. They've moved the interchange twice, but the latest alignment, it cuts right through your land, through the motel, through 36 acres. I blinked. The motel sits on 14. Walter looked at me over his glasses. You sure about that? Turns out, over the last 15 years, my father had quietly purchased 4 adjacent parcels, put them in my mother's name, then his, then mine. No announcements, no bragging, no lectures, just patience. The preliminary compensation estimate for that land under eminent domain? Over $6 million. $6 million. I sat down on the office floor and laughed. Not a pretty laugh, a stunned one. The kind that feels like your nervous system rebooting. And then I cried, not because of the money, because my father had trusted me with something long before I trusted myself. When the public planning meeting was announced, Caroline wore camel wool and confidence. Derek wore calculation. I wore navy. When the planner read the parcel numbers aloud and said single ownership, approximately 36 acres, the air shifted. You could feel it, like pressure before a storm. Derek found me in the crowd. His mouth opened, closed. For once, he didn't have a sentence ready. Afterward, in the parking lot, he said, "We need to discuss how this affects our assets." Funny how quickly language adjusts. I looked at him and realized something startlingly calm. "I'm done discussing anything without an attorney present," I said. He blinked. I had never said no to him in that tone. Not sharp, not cruel, just final. The divorce wasn't explosive. It was surgical. My lawyer, Ellen Dorsey, bless that woman, froze the joint credit line Derek had been quietly dipping into for months. A fishing boat, by the way. Of course. Caroline came back once more. No coat this time. No performance. "I thought Dad underestimated me," she said quietly. "But maybe he just understood you. We're not best friends now. We're honest. And sometimes that's the more grown-up version of love. The state finalized the purchase 6 months later. After taxes and fees, I kept just over $5 million. I kept 5 acres to the pecan tree, the creek, and the foundation stones of my grandmother's summer kitchen. We built a house there, modest, wide porch, east-facing, windows, a kitchen that holds morning light like it's sacred. Noah chose forest green for his room. Lily chose sunflower yellow. I kept the pine cabinet. It sits in my kitchen now. The brass hook still under the drawer. Inside are 2 sealed envelopes, one for each child, letters they'll open when they turn 16. I wrote them on motel receipt paper the night I realized I wasn't useless. I was underestimated. There's a difference. Derek sends birthday cards, $20 bills tucked inside. It's the kindness he's capable of. I accept it without rewriting history. Caroline sold me one of the Rowanoke apartments last fall. Fair price, clean paperwork, no drama. We had coffee afterward. It wasn't sentimental. It was steady. And sometimes steady is the miracle. If you're still here with me, I want you to hear this clearly. Being quiet does not mean you are small. Being patient does not mean you are passive. And being underestimated? Sometimes that's just camouflage. My father left me a crumbling motel. What he really left me was proof. Proof that someone had seen my strength long before I did. If this story felt like it was speaking directly to you, like someone finally put words to that ache you've been carrying, please subscribe to her untold revenge. This channel is for the women who were told to be grateful, to be smaller, to be quieter, and chose something different. Share this with the friend who needs it, the sister, the coworker, the version of yourself from 5 years ago. And tomorrow, I'll tell you about Ruthie Dolan's tomato plant and why it taught me more about my marriage than any argument ever did. The kettle's on. I'll see you there.